Good afternoon, Gina.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, so today we'll be having a meeting based on my final lesson on African animals where I demonstrated all of the standards. And so first of all, we can start talking about standard 1.
Okay.
And any of your feedback I'll be hugely grateful for.
No worries. You tell me how you demonstrated student development.
So learner development, I think that I showed how I could understand how the students develop as I involved lots of different activities, and this lesson showed an ongoing project from the unit of Africa.
Yes.
So based on each lesson that we had, I could differentiate the lesson planning and how much I needed to review different aspects of the unit.
Yes.
Based on my previous knowledge and also working with the children outside of the circle times. So I think that their learning development grew as well as mine over the course, and lots of activities were involved where you can see the development of them, cognitive, linguistic, social, emotional and physical areas.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I think you met standard 1 really well. I obviously know the children quite well myself, and I could see in your lessons, not only this lesson but previously as well, that you really have, designed your instructional strategies to meet the needs of the class. Cognitive, linguistic, social, emotional and physical needs. You really took into account the different kinds of learners. So you had real objects, you had visuals, you had physical songs, movement, that kind of thing. So I think that really, for our group there, that really meets all of their needs quite well. Sorry, I'm just going through standard 1 here to make sure that I don't miss anything out. The collaboration with your colleagues and other professionals. I think you met that, and it's maybe not very obvious in the video itself. Is that you met it in. You used information that I'd actually introduced to them previously about the angry elephant and the safari and that kind of thing. Yeah. So you've definitely collaborated there with myself and with other teachers in the classroom. Obviously, you also used one of the teaching assistants to translanguage to ensure that there was an understanding of why the children couldn't take something home. I'm very, very happy to see how you identified but also catered for different student developments, and they are at a different stage at this point of the year than they were before, so well done.
Thank you. Okay, so standard 2, learning differences. I think in the video you can see that there's a different questions based on different learning levels. So for example, again, asking different leveled questions for the younger students, or maybe the native speakers could understand all of the English basically, so I need to make the questions way more difficult for them as opposed to the first year students. So it's very important that the whole of the lesson can accommodate for each and every one of the kids, and our kids are definitely all unique with different learning differences. So in order to cater for this, I individually asked the students different questions on purpose based on my previous knowledge about their abilities. So yeah, and as far as the positive classroom climate, I think that the students do show respect for each other a lot and for their teacher. All of their teachers, our kids are very respectful, and I'm really proud of them for that. And yeah, I think the classroom has a very positive environment.
Yeah, I agree with you there. In terms of classroom environment and the value of students, valuing students and each other, the level of respect is quite high. It was very evident when they were singing the song and doing the actions. You could see, Denise bumped into George, and then put her arm around him, made sure he was okay, and then they were holding hands doing it. So there is a definite classroom atmosphere of respect which has been nurtured throughout the year, and that's obviously been it's very clear that that's modeled by the teachers, and obviously you're one of the full-time teachers in that classroom. In terms of learning differences, the large majority of our demographic is ELL in that classroom, and I think you really met that with your scaffolding of the questions. You did ask different levels of questions to different students. Some of them needed to give one-word answers, some of them needed to give full sentences and opinions. Also, your repetition was key in this lesson and in all your lessons that you've been delivering. So you drew on prior knowledge and you also built on that prior knowledge. So your aim of the lesson was achievable, which is very important for the self-esteem and self-confidence of our English language learners, because they, as we know, they're under a lot of pressure from home. I think the video didn't necessarily truly show to what level you ask different questions to the native English speakers. However, I witnessed that myself inside the classroom during individual lessons. So you've definitely met that. Although, as I said, that I don't think that was 100% shown in the video.
Okay, yeah.
Which you can't show every question in the video. That's not a down point. It's just
something to highlight. So great, yeah.
Because also your professor's not going to be able to see that in the video.
Sure.
However, you have met that in the classroom.
Okay. Thank you, Gina. Number 3, should we move on? Learning environments. So the candidate works with others to create environments. Okay. So I know that in our class, maybe it's not me specifically, but our teachers, our lead teacher, collaborates with the parents very frequently, and that is totally, it must be done in order for the kids to achieve as high as they can, and for the parent to be involved in their achievements and bringing it home too. So I think that the learning environment is the teachers are on the same page together because we work well together and we're all on the same page, and then also the parents at home are told about what's going on. I'm
just going to jump in there because with the systems and the protocol of the school, you haven't been able to be in direct contact with the parents in terms of collaboration.
Yeah.
However, you have met that standard in that I personally have had meetings with you and the team talking about the students' different varying needs, what's happening at home, the communication from the parents, what we're going to approach the parents with, and how we've partnered with the parents in terms of maybe behavior management or as one of our students recently left for Singapore, how to manage that emotional situation for him. So again, it may not be clearly obvious in the video itself. However, you have met that need in the way that you've collaborated with myself and the other teachers, and your project has also been included in the weekly roundup, which goes to the parents once a week.
Okay, fabulous.
And in student-centered classrooms, managing the learning environment.
Oh yeah, so student-centered classroom. I think a lot of it is teacher-centered based on so student-centered as well as teacher centered, but the students, one of the points that I made was I would have liked to have seen the collaboration and pair work again in this video so that you could see the kids working by themselves more. However, it's difficult with this age group, but we did see previously with the think, pair, share, etc. But I think I would like to mention that this may be a reason why some of it looks more teacher focused in some areas. Is that what you meant? I'm not sure if that's what you meant. But
No, I didn't say that.
oh, okay. Sorry, no, student-centered rather than teacher-centered. Having the opportunity to make choices for their own learning, I think our classroom is a great example of that anyway, because after the lesson they can choose whatever work they want to do. So choice is the philosophy of our classroom anyway. So.
Look, I am by no means saying it was teacher centered.
Okay.
That was a misunderstanding. I was just bringing up what else was on that standard, on standard 3. But you're right, it is a very student-centered classroom, and that the students do get to make the choice of the follow-up activities that they do, and there is respect if they choose not to engage. They have to be respectful of the rest of the teachers, the rest of the students, and the work that is available in the class, but they still get that independent choice. And it's impossible to show everything in a video. And as you've seen, and as you see often, is that work the follow-up work that you did is available for them on the shelf for independent choice. And I myself have seen at least 2 or 3 kids doing it together. And there's been children that have forgotten an animal's name, and another child teaches them that name, or they're having their discussion about which animals they enjoy and like the most. So there's definitely student-centered, but it's difficult to highlight everything on a video. But your collaborative project, really, there was no teacher visible at that point.
Yeah, true.
The kids were sitting there. If you noticed, they were sharing their pencils. One was handing over to another. So it is visible, and you know it's there, but it's difficult to have everything in one place, right?
Sure, yes. So content knowledge. I think that I understood the subject area concepts, of course, and the tools of inquiry appropriate for this age group. And there was a lot of different activities shown that, of course, I had the knowledge previously that this content was accessible for all different students. And it does say one part about the technology. I think the technology that I did use was appropriate for the students, and also using, for example, the video of the African made it super interesting for them. And yeah, it was appropriate for the students for this age group.
Yeah, I agree with you there. For content knowledge, a big part of it obviously is that you link it to prior knowledge and experiences, which you very clearly did in linking it to a prior lesson from on Africa, which was obviously delivered by me.
Yes.
Being from Africa.
Yes.
So you drew on their prior knowledge there, which is important in planning the lesson group. I think it was age appropriate. You also linked it to the geographical study of the continents. You brought in the continent globe, so it was your content knowledge kind of was cross context, which is good. And there was, even in the song, there was counting, some mathematical skills, which is relevant for this age group. Counting 1 to 4, taking those 4 steps. So I think you did meet the standard very well. It was very age appropriate. And the technology, as you know, our school doesn't encourage a lot of technology for this age group. Especially after COVID, that it's something that the parents have pushed back against, just purely related to having been online for too long. However, the video was appropriately timed, it was the correct length, and it really was a hook into the lesson, and it showed real African scene. So that was a good choice.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Okay, standard 6, assessment. So I think overall the lesson. Oh, sorry.
Standard 5. Application of content.
Oh, sorry. Yes. So here we go. Application of content, standard 5. So understands how to connect concepts and use different perspectives to engage students in critical thinking, creativity, and collaborative problem solving related to authentic local and global issues. So the project that we produce with the children, this one is talking about, we collaborated, and as you can see, did the video about our finished project. Children were asked to help each other to make this project as a class, and which will then later be put on show for our African unit. And
I'll jump in there with the
Okay.
literacy across the curriculum as
Okay.
well. Again, difficult for you to show that in the video. However, I have obviously observed you reading the story of Giraffes Can't Dance, and there's been books linked to your lesson already, but obviously not reflected in this video. So maybe in the video, the application of the content is hard to see the standard being met, but it has been incorporated in your delivery of the unit lessons.
Okay, thank you. Okay, relevance to students in literacy.
Basically, it's been age appropriate,
Okay,
the application of the content.
okay, okay.
So,
Thank you. Should we move?
Standard 6?
Standard 6, assessment. So again, throughout it, the style of our lessons anyway, we take formative assessments throughout the lesson. I did say that I would like to make obvious taking notes of what the students already know, but I don't feel that I need to do that during a lesson. But we do have record keeping in our classroom. After a child completes work, instantly the teacher makes a written comment.
Anecdotal.
Yes, and so yeah, the formative assessments take place constantly, and during the lesson shown, I could take I could take a mental note of how far the children are at, and then if the assessment shows that they need more review on certain things, I can then teach further for certain children, and also further assess individuals after the lesson, like what you said with going and working independently with children who don't score highly on the assessments compared to the others, or haven't grasped the content fully. And I think the whole video, I showed different lessons in that, so it could show a form of a summative assessment for the first time in my lessons, where I can see how the children have progressed and make a decision on what next steps there needs to be made.
Yeah, look, it's for the age group, summative assessments are relatively ineffective, but also not very easy to do. Formative assessments for this age group is probably the best route to take. And as you said, the record keeping is there, which I've had a look at as well. So you have your constant record keeping after you've spoken to the children and delivered lessons to the children. I also, there's a timely feedback on their work and guide their progress towards high quality work. Obviously for this age group, that includes immediate feedback on how they're performing in a lesson, not necessarily on the outcome, but in the process. So you definitely were providing immediate feedback, even in terms of classroom management. So commending somebody who was having a hard time and wiggling a little bit, or couldn't, was losing focus. When they brought them back to focus, you gave immediate feedback on that. And although that's not assessment on their actual learning outcomes, but for this age group, social learning is part of every lesson. Appropriate behavior is part of every lesson. Teaching those expectations is a part of every lesson, so there is some form of assessment there as well. And with the immediate feedback, like Jason I like the way Jason is sitting, or thank you for sitting with your legs crossed after they rectified themselves. That is rectified is a harsh word. I don't mean it like that, but you know what you know what I'm getting at there. But the immediate feedback is important for them, and you did congratulate them and show constant interest in what they were saying.
Okay, thank you. Number 7, planning for
Sorry. And also your exit tickets were age appropriate.
Oh, yes.
And they were varied according to the children's ability in what you were asking them.
Yes.
And also with your mystery bag, when they took out the the animals, you ask varied questions to show level of understanding. So that can also fall into your assessment side of things.
Okay, yes.
Because you have recorded that in the record keeping documents.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Gina. So standard 7, planning for instruction. So I planned different sections, as you can see in the video, to meet every student's rigorous learning goals. And like you mentioned before, the cross-disciplinary skills. In our lesson, in our classroom, we have a unit theme of Africa, and in each section of our classroom, we have African theme-based things like maths. We're learning about math, but the objects that we use will be African animals, and the counters that we use will be African animals, and the same in the language area and the science and all of the different areas. So it is cross-disciplinary skills every day.
Yeah, it's spiraled through the curriculum.
Yeah. So differentiation is a must uniquely with every single different student or group, and that needs to be considered. And I think that I showed that with asking different questions again, but also providing different learning opportunities and different, like the learning through videos, learning through songs, learning through the project-based learning project. So overall you can see that a lot of planning went into it, and yeah, just plan for specific individual needs. And I think that was shown in the range of different activities.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Standard 8. Yes. So standard 8 instructional strategies. Again, response to students' learning needs. Again, different things were used in order to meet different needs of different students.
Look, I think you met this in
Yeah.
an age-appropriate manner.
Okay.
You had students actively involved in the development and accessing and interpreting the information that you provided. You asked regular questions, but there were also effective age-appropriate questions. So remember, when you're looking at this rubric, all of this is important, but it also needs to be adapted to an age-appropriate environment.
Sure.
So some of the language here in the standards may throw you off a little
Yeah.
bit. But
I'm like, does that mean that one? Does that mean that one?
But you've got to look at it from an age-appropriate perspective as well. So yes, you do need to meet all these standards, but in an age-appropriate manner.
Sure.
Which I think definitely in terms of instructional strategies, you did. You were continuously monitoring the student learning, and you varied your role in the instructional process. So it's at one stage you were, for your collaborative project of the diorama, you were walking around, you were only facilitating. When you introduced the language, you were directly introducing language and instructing and teaching them, explicitly teaching them the language. And then you also varied the role, and you gave it to the children to introduce to their classmates. So you facilitated that as well. So, and you coached them in terms of how to say something, or how to say something in a complete way, or how to present something to the class. So, in your role in the instructional process, you definitely met that very well and varied it. So again, as you said already, you had different instructional strategies, so it engaged all students, students that learn through song, students that learn through visual, students that learn through tactile, because you actually had the objects as well. And you're asking of questions. So I think you definitely met the standard.
Okay. Thank you, Gina. 8 and 9, I don't have one here.
Professional learning and
Okay.
ethical practice is number 9. So candidate engages on ongoing professional learning and uses evidence to continue to evaluate his or her practice, particularly the effects of his or her choices on the actions of others. students, families, other professionals, and the community, and adapts the practice to meet the needs of the student.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
think
big
this
one.
was. Yeah, it is a big one.
Yes.
I think this is more of a bigger picture
Mhm.
standard. So this is more about your professional and ethical conduct in the workplace, not
Mhm.
necessarily based on this
The video.
lesson itself, on the video itself. However, in the video, when you do engage with the children, you always use please and thank you. You use courteous language. But this is the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Is this something you want to include in this video, or is it?
It's okay. I just think that does it mean as well like growing professionally? And
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess I could quickly mention because it says all standards.
Sure, go ahead.
I think that in a professional manner, you know, being able to collaborate with you obviously and meet you often, I can grow professionally, especially not just because of the lesson planning and everything through Teach Now, but also from you. You can always openly update me on my professionalism, which is super helpful. So definitely during this time of the course that's happened as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to jump in there as well, for professional conduct, obviously you conduct yourself professionally daily, but you have been open to feedback. Sometimes it's maybe the feedback's been a little hard to accept, but you've been open to that and immediately rectified whatever has been mentioned.
Yeah.
And that's part of everybody's daily
Yes.
life. Like that's not a personal thing. So that's a very big part of this standard is being able to take feedback about professional conduct and applying it and accepting constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And then obviously with students, families, other professionals in the community, it's how you hold yourself when you are engaging with them as well. So again, it cannot be necessarily shown in video, but it's a bigger overall performance standard, and also something that we have to take into consideration every day.
Sure. Very important. Okay, and then standard 10 is the
leadership and collaboration.
Okay, yeah. So I guess the leadership and collaboration, we didn't have a lot of time to do an example of this, but I guess showing leadership of the project-based learning project shows my leadership in taking over. That is a very small thing to show as a school as a whole, but I think the video can demonstrate that. But I definitely look forward to leading some kind of projects in the future if I have the opportunities with the time and everything that's going on.
No, look, I mean, you're doing your course at the moment, and you're doing your teaching certification with Teach Now. So leadership and collaboration, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to step into a leadership role. It doesn't mean that you have to step into a management role at this point. You're still gaining experience and the lesson planning is relatively new. So it is about, it also takes into account, for me, it also takes into account how you're, cooperating within a classroom setting, whether you can, take leadership of a group of children independently when, we've had a few situations in the past where we've had to think on our feet as we've had to move staff around. So that all plays into leadership and collaboration. So it's also about respect. And respect for the children and also the school as an organization, and understanding the social arena. So building a shared vision, I mean, you understand MSB's vision, which is respect for the children, and that's something that you're putting into place, and individualized learning, so you're putting that into place already. Also advocating for students, so that's, you advocate to meet the needs of the students as it states here in the document, and enacts a system change. I mean, there's no coup d'etat happening here, but you do advocate for the students as well. We've had many a discussion in terms of students that maybe the system isn't working for them, and how do we adapt it for them. So this standard, again, it doesn't mean that you have to step into a leadership role. It's how you've shown it within your current role.
Sure. Okay. That's all of the standards. Okay, well, I'd like to include in the video, I'm thoroughly very grateful for you, Gina, and I am looking forward to continuing to grow with you. And thank you.
Thank you.